Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Landing Party, episode 42, The Trouble with Tribbles. Tonight's captain's log is Stardate 2503.05. This episode is written by David Gerald and directed by Joseph Pevney. The Fuzzies, or A Fuzzy Thing Happened to Me, were the original titles of the teleplay until DeForest Research discovered that author H. Beam Piper had written a sci-fi book in 1962 called The Fuzzies. Gerald ran through a bunch of funny-sounding names like Shaggies, Gollies, Goonies, Puffs, Poofies, Tribbies, Triblets, and eventually Tribbles. But they weren't out of the woods yet because they also discovered that the great Robert Heinlein wrote a book in 1952 called The Rolling Stones. It featured a fuzzy little creature that produced a soothing vibration when petted and was born pregnant. The two Genes, Roddenberry and Kuhn, both claimed to have called Heinlein to get his permission to use the character aspect. Regardless of did it, they were granted dispensation and were able to use it for this story. Kuhn liked what he saw in young writer David Gerald. Kuhn liked to mentor young talent and really pushed Gerald. Many of the outlines and rewrites Gerald had to do for free. But once Kuhn was convinced the kid had the stuff, he put him on assignment and was paid for all his work. The Trouble with Tribbles is a well-loved episode by the fans. It's also in the top 10 lists and was nominated for a Hugo Award in 1968. Many in the cast loved it as well. Shatner thought it was a lot of fun. Jimmy Doohan thought it did the most for the character of Scotty since Wolf in the Fold. Writer Dorothy Fontana loved it, and it's one of her two favorites, the other being City on the Edge of Forever. It was also director Joseph Pevney's favorite episode. But not everyone agreed. Gene Roddenberry, who was out of town when a lot of it was filmed, was not happy with all the comedy, particularly coming off of I, Mud. He didn't like the direction that the series was going. Leonard Nimoy felt it was frivolous. Cinematographer Jerry Finnerman thought it was campy, and Robert Justman thought it went too far comedically. Koloth, the Klingon in this episode, was to be a reoccurring character, but when Kuhn left mid-season, we're coming up to his departure point, that idea went with him. This is William Campbell's second appearance on Star Trek, his first being as Trelane in The Squire of Gothos in the first season. Writer David Gerald tried to pitch a sequel to this episode during the third season, but producer Fred Freiberger rejected it because he did not like the comedic tone of the episode. Gerald's idea eventually became an animated spin-off, More Tribbles, More Troubles, in the 1973 animated series. Once again, George Takei is missing due to his work and the schedule overages on the filming of the Green Berets with John Wayne. That was a big mistake, I think, for Takei. You know, he liked the idea of doing a movie with John Wayne, but that movie didn't do so well, and he missed out on, this legacy episodes that people talk about, this part of Star Trek lore. In David Gerald's book, The Trouble with Tribbles, he quoted a memo he wrote when the show was being prepared, suggesting that the character of Cyrano Jones be changed from an unscrupulous trader to an old man who was too befuddled to realize what he was doing by importing Tribbles into a space station and on a starship. What a role for Boris Karloff, Gerald wrote in his memo. In the book, Gerald expressed regret that he didn't pursue his idea further because it would have gotten the legendary Karloff onto Star Trek. Can you imagine? Stanley Adams, who played the role of Cyrano Jones, was an accomplished television scriptwriter. He has 17 writing credits, which include the third season, next season's show, The Mark of Gideon, which he was a co-writer of. Adams committed suicide in April of 1977. It's attributed to severe depression as a result of a back injury sustained earlier in that decade. It's a sad ending for that guy, huh? All right, gang. Let's bring in the rest of the landing party and see what they have to say. Elvis Presley, the Kuna Khalifi is here. Cyrano Lopresti, and Anna the Star Trek girl.
Hello.
Welcome all.
Hello, my beautiful children.
I got a feeling that the two guys in the upper boxes are going to come down pretty heavy on this episode, and that maybe Anna and I might be the two holding up the pillars of this one. I don't know. She may hate it too.
Well, let's explore.
I know it's silly. I know it's funny, but I like it. It's just kind of different from what we're used to seeing, and I found it refreshing.
Back up a step. What gives you the impression that we're going to come down heavy?
I think Graham's already said he doesn't like this episode. Now maybe I'm mistaken in what I'm remembering, but
did you say that, Graham?
I didn't say I didn't like it, but it's again, I like it better than I'm Mud for sure, as far as like comedies go. This one I like. There's the scene where Kirk finds out why Scotty threw the first punch is classic. I just love it.
Yep.
But the comedy is a little. I agree with like Justman and those guys that the comedy is a little too strong in it. You know, there's not a real sense of drama to it, and there's not a lot of action at all in it. So
yeah,
and you know what really surprised me is because I watched the updated versions with the computer graphics, and I thought maybe I was going to get something spectacular with the ship going around the space station and seeing the space station. Well, the space station looked just as bad as it did when it was.
It wasn't much of an improvement, was it?
It really wasn't.
I had that model from AMC way back in the 70s too.
Did you really?
Yeah, they had that space station model.
My biggest problem with this episode, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the humor of all of it, but I thought the Klingons were really wimpy and non-threatening.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
they could have upped that quite a bit, and it would have turned it into a better episode. And then at the end, spoilers, the Darwin, the guy that's a spy.
Yeah.
I mean, he throws the Tribbles in his face and he confesses everything. I'm like, come on.
Because he's so scared of them.
They're terrifying.
I know.
He didn't have to. I mean, they already had him, right? He didn't have to admit to anything, and they could have taken him away, and you're still getting the same result. Right.
So I made it a little more serious, like they shoved the Tribble up his ass or something.
The R-rated version.
That would definitely get a Klingon to admit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting is Darwin. When you look at it, he looks like John Lennon. He's got the Beatles outfit. He's got the Lennon face, the nose, and he and his wife, I think her name is Mitzi, were a comedy group, and they were on the Ed Sullivan Show. On the Beatles premiere in 1964. They were the following act.
Oh my gosh, really?
Can you imagine? What part of that English didn't you understand?
Because they got a text and it distracted me, so I only heard a bit of that. Anyway,
okay.
You don't have to waste your life repeating it. I'll just pretend I heard you. Okay, move on.
There'll be a quiz later on, so you may want to know.
They're saying the Deep Space Nine exteriors were better. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever saw Deep Space Nine did a follow-up to this episode.
I did, but they were up in the, where the Tribbles fell out on Kirk. They were up there in the compartment.
Yeah. I've seen parts of it. I've never seen that episode though.
Oh, so the John Lennon guy, they run into him and he's still alive and kicking, and so he's trying to go back in time to make it so they never recognized him. So they have to go back in time.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Darwin. Like gray and everything. He had gray hair.
Yeah. I did like I did like Kirk's sort of smart ass smugness when he dealt with the guy that was what's his name, that character actor that played the not the ambassador, but he was the director of the, he was overseer, overseeing the
the
wheat
guy was
project.
Patty Duke's father,
Yeah,
William Shallert.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
long hair,
back and forth I liked.
the red hair or whatever. That guy. Or is
No,
that-
no, no, it's the dark
He's
hair.
in everything.
Tall,
William
skinny guy with the dark
Shallert.
hair.
Yeah, I'll have to look at him.
He would, but that whole thing where he's like, I've never questioned Star Trek's orders until now. And he's like, he was always giving him a shot every time he talked to him.
Yeah.
Star Trek's orders? You mean Federation?
Yeah, Federation's orders. Yeah.
Imagine if he said Star Trek.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Yeah, I've never questioned Star Trek. I never questioned Gene Roddenberry until now.
Yeah, I thought it was funny how the fight scene in the bar too, how that guy, gets under Scotty's skin.
Mhm.
But that was the shittiest looking bar.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, I'm spending money, but that to me was the action in the show you were looking for.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah.
Not what happened, but I liked the idea of them getting into a fight, and it really drove a nail in to Scotty's character, because he was defending Kirk, but we can take a few lumps. It was okay to talk about the captain when it came to the ship. So I like the way they drove his character home like that. Like that's how.
Oh, that was great. That was great.
The other nice thing about this episode is, did you notice they had a lot of scenes where they separated the crew out, and everybody got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle Nichols had more screen time.
Yeah.
In fact, she had quite a bit of screen time in this, which was nice,
And it wasn't like the supporting guys with Kirk all the time. They were, you had a scene between Spock and McCoy, and you had Scotty and the, Chekhov, and then you had Chekhov and Uhura. Everybody was kind of off doing their own thing in this episode, which you didn't see a lot in the other episodes. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I like Shatner's reaction. He's like so exasperated by everything that's going on. And Bones is, doing the autopsy on the Tribbles. And he says, Jim, do you know what you get when you overfeed a Tribble? And he's like, fat Tribble.
Bunch of little Tribbles.
A fat Tribble. He just
They're like
had it,
early versions of Gremlins.
Is it cute?
I will say back to the fight scene for a second, how much fun it must have been to try to choreograph that in that little space.
Mm-hmm.
There's Cyrano, whatever his name is, the bar guy. Not the bar guy, but the guy who brought the Tribbles. And
Right.
Cyrano
Jones.
they're all flying by him and he's taking his drinks.
Yep.
It was I thought that was a fun scene.
Yeah.
You know what it felt like? It felt like a Western barroom fight.
Yeah.
The guy sliding on the bar, and the whole thing, guys flipping over stuff. I liked it too.
And
When you think about it, it's only the second appearance of the Klingons. So we can criticize them, say, oh, they're not very, threatening and all that. And, they just seem like guys with makeup on, in a barroom fight. But this is only the second time we've ever seen them,
Yeah, but they set them up in the Organian episode that they were bad dudes,
Mm-hmm.
And these guys were they were wimps. I mean, the second in command was more imposing than his commander was.
I think William Campbell was. I loved him as Trelane, but he just did not have that gravitas to play this commander.
You could hear the accent under his voice, like it was like he didn't have a Klingon accent or anything.
Yeah.
And look, Worf talked about that and how they were an embarrassment, and all that. Do you remember that, Anna?
Yeah, they're like, why do the Klingons look weird? And he's like, we don't talk about that.
Yeah. And evidently they did explain it at one point where
They do in Enterprise, they explain it. So there's how Khan is like a genetically modified person or human. Right. So they did the genetic modifications to Klingons, but by doing that, it made them look more human. So they made those Klingons, those millions of Klingons, live on the Klingon moons. And so during the time when they had to deal with the humans, they sent those Klingons to do it because they
You know
look
what's
more
funny
human.
about that? Think about the implications of what they're saying there.
I know.
They genetically modified them to make superior Klingons, but they ended up looking more like white males.
Well, if you guys read that graphic novel that I want to say, did Peter David write it? I think he did, and Adam Hughes drew the Star Trek graphic novel. He
gosh.
explains that in that graphic novel, and that would have been, well, I don't know, was it pre the television show when they explained it? But they basically said there was two races of Klingons.
Mhm.
You know, the guys that had the forehead crap, and then the guys that were more human looking, because that one guy from the Organian episode, that Klingon was actually, they used his character in that graphic novel, and I think he's the one who sort of explained how there was two different sort of
Well,
races
that's
of
an
Klingons.
interesting thought anyway, because, you know, every planet in Star Trek, you know, everybody looked exactly the same. But like on Earth, there's all kinds of regions where people look different. You know,
Right.
Asia, Africa, North America, you know, there's different, we call them races, but everybody's the human race. I just think it's, you know, evolution and geography. You know,
Sure.
and I would think like on Vulcan, maybe there's a different looking Vulcans, you know, that,
Well, there's Tuvok, who's a black
Yeah,
Vulcan.
There's black Vulcans. We know that.
yeah, well, that's a little
And
too-
then the Klingons, they have like different forehead ridges, and then the Romulans, they either have the, you know, in the
Right.
next gen, they have that kind of eyebrow ridge,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
they look
And
like
bad haircuts.
Mm-hmm.
Draculonic Romulans.
Yeah, Draculonic. I love that.
Yeah. But John
yeah.
Colicos, when he played Kor, you know, this is a Shakespearean guy, you know, not some guy from New Jersey.
Mhm.
So, you know, he had that gravitas as that Klingon commander in Errand of Mercy.
Yeah.
You know, the way he delivered lines, oh, but the battle would have been glorious. You
Yeah.
know, so great.
You know, that actor Michael Pataki, he was around a lot too. He's been in a bunch of different things. I don't know if you guys ever saw Grave of the Vampire with William Smith. He played the vampire in that. He's been in a lot of stuff. Then he was the Russian chancellor in Rocky IV. Dolph Lundgren's, you know, chancellor from Russia.
Okay.
Mhm.
You know, he was in a bunch of different things, but the Grave of the Vampire, I remember him the most in. He played a really good vampire in it.
Was he in this episode?
Yeah, he was the one who said, if I say the Enterprise is a garbage scow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Michael-
I've seen him in
much
crime
younger
movies
version of
too.
him.
He always
That
plays
was-
like a. I've seen him in crime. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that's the guy that was in Rocky IV. Now that I think about his face, it is, but I never would have guessed that in a million years.
Yeah.
Sorry, Graham.
Whatever he hits, he destroys. That's him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Always
right.
plays a heavy.
Yep.
He was good as the vampire, though. I mean, I remember seeing that when I was a kid. Scared the crap out of me because I was little. But, you know, he basically rapes a girl in a crypt.
Oh.
Right.
And she has a baby. So the
That's William Smith.
baby's half vampire.
Yeah.
And he grows up, and you know it's William Smith. And I don't know if you know who William Smith is, but he's a big, jacked, muscular dude who was a Hollywood actor for many years with a ton of stuff like Clint Eastwood movies and
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know the mustache. He always had that mustache. Yeah.
goatee. You know, he fought Clint Eastwood in Any Which Way But Loose.
Right.
Had
Yeah.
those,
Yep, yep.
like doll's eyes.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
It had a sort of
Right in the size, like a doll's
kind
eye.
of like
Jaws, you know.
who played what's his name? Who played in Batman with Jack Nicholson? Jack Palance. He
Yeah.
kind of looked like a young version of Jack Palance a little bit.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Better looking version or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, so he played that, and then they have this cool fight at the end because his son is like all muscular and he's big, and it's over his mom and then this girl, and they have this big fight scene, and
That's him. Yep.
yeah,
There he is.
and,
Yeah, look at him here.
yeah,
He
Freaking
was
beast.
jacked, man. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
there he is with Clint Eastwood. Yeah,
Yeah. The guy spoke like 6 languages. He was fluent in Russian too.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you look up Grave of the Vampire, he had like long hair, and he was, But Michael Pataki was very convincing. Michael Pataki had a very Hammer film way about him.
Wait, this dude is that Klingon?
He was that Klingon. Yeah, look
the curly-haired Klingon. Pataki. No, not William Smith.
Michael Pataki.
Pataki was the short guy from Rocky IV. It was the Russian.
I think I've seen that movie once.
How do you spell Pataki?
Pataki. Pataki.
There it is.
Anna needs some reference.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you here.
You think William Smith would have been a heck of a Klingon.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's him.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he was in Next Gen too.
Yeah, I think
this episode
he recurred that role or something.
Yeah, he was like a general, and he had this feud with this other guy.
No, he was the guy that acted like a Klingon in this.
There
episode.
he is as the vampire down there in the lower right.
Oh yeah, here. I just saw that movie like a year ago or something. Yeah, here he is all wrinkled up.
Oh, look at him down there. He's old there. Wow.
Here?
Yeah, the second, down there to the right. One more down and over.
Here is the vampire again.
Where?
Yeah.
Right here with my
bottom row there.
Yeah, that's it.
Interesting. That's funny.
It's a good movie to watch. It's a classic. It's
Yeah, I just don't believe he could take William Smith.
Well, he couldn't. It was his son, and what happens is he doesn't know it's his son at first, but William Smith knows it's his dad.
Right.
So they fight in this house, and he can't overpower William Smith, and he's like befuddled because William Smith is throwing him through walls and shit because he has vampire strength.
Right.
Act and everything, and he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm your son." And he's like, yes. And he, for a second, he's like attached to him as his son. Like, yes, he's like proud. But William Smith is like, "Fuck you," and just fucks him up. But then once he kills his father, and the girl that he's with is upstairs. He's saving his girlfriend from the vampire. But what happens is once he kills his father, he turns into a vampire. It was like a rite of passage, almost like his vampiric hormones kick in and he becomes the vampire, and he stalks up the stairs to the girl. That's how it ends. Just shows his face with his fangs coming out right at the camera.
Wow. Yeah. Spoiler.
So I
don't need to see that anymore.
I knew you were going to say that. Didn't sound like you were going to watch it anytime soon.
Hey, let me take care of a couple super chats. Russell Hall, using his real name for $5. I prefer the alternate title of the episode, Merkin Mania. Merkin Mania. All right.
Vampires are collecting Social Security in America.
Yeah.
Did you hear that one? The 300.
Yeah, 300.
Hold on, Ron. I got this other one. Joni B for $5 Canadian. I've never watched the original Star Trek thinking what I like better, just how many I've seen too many times. They are all at least 7 of 10 for me. Well, we'll get to some lower ones.
Third season's waiting for us.
Yeah, third season. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. But thank you, guys.
That one just jumps into my head every time.
Yeah, me too.
Brain. What is Brain?
See, I can watch that one, but I cannot watch And the Children Shall Lead.
Yeah, that one annoys me too.
But anything with kids, I can't stand the kids.
Know.
Now, when Kirk's an Indian, that's the one I cannot stand.
That's a bad one too.
Oh,
that lawyer. Well, that one doesn't bother me as much.
I am Kirk.
Miramani!
I thought it was interesting. Miramani. Because I liked it because they don't believe him. And then all of a sudden Spock and McCoy materialize on top of the thing. They're like, oh shit. And they all take off. So they're like, "Oh man, we fucked up. He really was,
He really was.
You know, for a show with a limited budget, they must have spent some good money for that obelisk.
They probably stole it from like backstage from another movie or something.
Like it was just made out of plywood and they spray painted it.
It looked pretty good.
All right, let's get back to our episode.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. What are we on? Oh, Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah, that's right.
It's no dribble at all.
You said Nimoy didn't like this episode, but he, that just goes to his professionalism because he was a very, I don't know if sarcastic's the right word, but he had this underlying in his performance in this episode. He took it seriously, even though he might have hated the episode, because Spock had this nice little, they just worked in the humor with Spock, but it never really went out of character, So
yeah, like when he's with Chekhov and Chekhov says it's a little joke, and Spock says very little, ensign.
That was the other thing that bothered me about this episode was that was such a scene inserted just to get Chekhov some screen time, where their history of the this that. I mean, it was fun, but it was just kind of silly. Kirk was putting up with way too much from Chekhov in this episode.
Yeah, a lot of that Russian stuff, that goofy Russian, even though sometimes Chekhov is playing it, like he says it just to, troll people.
Right.
Which I think they should have played up even more is Chekhov trolling people about Russian accomplishments. I think that would have been a fun running gag,
Yeah, and when he was sitting next there to George Takei, he could have said
Spectre of the gun they used it too.
Yeah.
About.
They were pushing Chekhov pretty hard in the second season to get him to be a popular character because he got a lot of episodes where he, like the one where they're aging. We just looked at that one a couple of weeks ago. He had a big part. He had a big part. And like you said, Spectre of the Gun, he had a big part. And I know there's other episodes coming up where he probably, I'm not thinking about here in the second season, where he probably had a lot of more airtime than George Takei ever got.
You got to admit, I mean, off of that track for a second, though, there's some iconic photo shots. The biggest one from that episode was just Shatner covered in Tribbles as he's got that look on his face, like, as they're coming out of the band. That photo was used so many times.
There's a bit of an echo right now.
Ron's become the vampire. He's echoing.
Oh, no.
Check.
Over here, Aaron. I want to tell you something. Your neck looks delicious.
It's full of old blood. It's full of very old blood.
Very thick.
Old blood. Yeah.
I would suck your blood, but there's too much cholesterol.
Did you ever see that issue of Tomb of Dracula where he bites this drunk and he's hammered after he bites him? I'm trying to remember which one that was, but God, it was funny.
What would happen if a vampire bit somebody that was on blood thinners, and just drained him out? Now the blood that he's in there is so thin that would it screw up the vampire so that maybe you could kill it and it would bleed out?
Oh,
Probably spray everywhere, like.
yeah.
What made me think of it is I had to have blood drawn today, and they said, "Are you on any blood thinners?" I said, "No."
Yesterday. I had my blood yesterday.
Yeah, they ask you that question. Yeah, I said no, but then I got to thinking, well, blood thinners, huh? What would happen if you're on blood thinners?
Aspirin does it.
Yeah, right. That's why people with heart conditions, they say take the baby aspirin to keep your blood thin.
I'm supposed to take it every day, but I don't.
Oh, right.
Somebody brought up Fright Night. That was a good vampire movie.
That was the best vampire movie I've ever seen. Fright
That
Night.
was excellent.
The
I've
original.
never seen it.
I remember seeing Chris Sarandon I was in New Orleans or somewhere, and I'm walking down the hall to get to the elevator, and Chris Sarandon comes walking out, who played the vampire in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he must just didn't want to be caught in the elevator with somebody, because he comes out of his room and he sees me, and he had closed the door, and he turns around and he starts fumbling with his door to go back in, because he was right in the elevator.
Well, maybe Shatner called him and said, "Don't
Don't talk to this Ron
get
Garney
in the elevator with this guy."
Who is he?
Very scary.
That is true. I am scary.
Mhm.
Oh, that guy was in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, was he?
Chris
Yeah.
Sarandon.
Mhm.
He was also a transvestite in The Dog Day Afternoon, or wannabe transvestite.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Isn't he the Prince and the Princess Bride?
Yes.
Yeah.
Prince Humperdinck. Yeah.
Yep.
I love
He was
in
great
Dog
as the
Day
vampire.
Afternoon when Pacino was talking to him on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, what was it? What was the character's name? Not Leonard, something like that. He says, "I don't have time for the deep shit. Stop laying the deep shit on me."
Yeah. That was a great movie.
Yeah, that's when Pacino was in his his low
Yeah.
talk
And he was still- he
stage.
Still worked
Yeah.
with the guy from The Godfather who died of cancer. You know, played his brother.
Oh
Fredo.
yeah,
Yeah. Fredo.
Yeah.
yeah. The
John
guy who was.
He was in a serious relationship with Meryl Streep for a
Yeah,
long
he
time.
was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What's that guy's name? John? Was it John?
Yeah, it's John
God.
something with a C.
John Coagulant, since we're talking
No,
about
John Caligula, I think it's.
ever see that movie? I know you have, Aaron.
No, I haven't. I
Yes.
didn't see
They
it.
just re-released it.
They
Did you see that Sienkiewicz posted something on Facebook where he
Yeah.
was talking? He was on stage for it, and I'm like,
Yeah, he was with
have to do with that?
Who was?
Sienkiewicz.
Bill Sienkiewicz.
Sienkiewicz was on stage in Caligula.
No.
He was
He
at a
was on,
showing, an
they
anniversary
just
showing.
re-released the film, and
Oh.
Malcolm McDowell was on stage with other people as a part of this release party, and Sienkiewicz was on there interviewing them. You know, for
Yeah, it was like I didn't understand what his connection was.
It's a porno flick, man. I mean,
Yeah, it
it's-
essentially is. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Helen Mirren was in that.
I remember
Yep.
Hal Mirren and the guy Malcolm. Was it Malcolm McDowell?
Yeah, Malcolm McDowell.
They
was
came in
Caligula.
and there was that big orgy going on, and it was completely hardcore.
Yeah,
Never seen that movie either.
There
well,
was-
not many people have because it got pulled pretty quickly.
well, it was.
That-
Isn't it like the most rated R movie you'll ever see?
it was rated X.
It was rated
Yeah.
X.
Yeah,
I mean,
It
there were
was,
shots and everything. Oh, you know, everywhere.
it got panned though horribly by critics, just destroyed.
Well, for that time, I mean, in the 70s, it was like, you know, for
I
it to be
think-
mainstream film that put out, it was just a real risk. So
Bob Guccione, man, Penthouse is who financed that. So
now I just
Yeah.
said, Aaron, if you were listening,
I was asleep,
fucking asshole.
my eyes awake. Hey, you didn't listen to Graham a minute ago, so I'm
That's
just a
because
little
I was
revenged,
distracted. You just weren't listening. Aaron,
Same thing.
Cyrano, come here and let me bite your neck.
I'm on blood thinners.
I have fangs. They should have at the dentist office.
Mhm.
I have
Joanne B is back with 5 more Canadian dollars.
Ooh.
Schwarzenegger, Kurak,
Fuck.
Kurak,
John Cazale.
money.
Charlie Stevenson says John Cazale. That's right.
Cazale, yeah.
He was only in like 3 movies. He was in The Godfather 1 and 2, and he was in Dog Day Afternoon. Oh, and he was also in The Deer Hunter, wasn't he? And then he
Yep.
died right after that. So
Yeah.
those the only 4 movies he made.
Yeah, and all
was
4 of
upright.
them are on the historic registry of the greatest films.
Yeah. Pretty remarkable.
Pretty good track record.
During Deer
Mhm.
Hunter, he was fighting with the cancer then, and
Yes.
he wanted to work.
Yeah.
They were kind of impressed with it, but he was suffering a lot at that point.
What kind of cancer did he have? Do you know?
I'm sure it was like pancreatic or something. It was
Oh,
really
geez.
fatal. Yeah, there's nothing he could do about it.
Mm.
So as far as Trouble with Tribbles, what's your ratings?
Well, it goes this way. So you're first.
I'm first.
Yeah, Ron.
It goes
Wait, we're-
clockwise. This is
I wanna
how-
hear it.
Well,
But
the
I
stream's
asked-
only been up for half an hour and we're rating it already.
No,
No, it's-
well, we haven't even talked about it for 15 minutes.
I
you
know.
It's 10 of 9. So
It's
I,
kind of
I will say that I was glad that Nichelle Nichols had a bigger part because she is one beautiful woman, and she's actually a good actress. You know,
She's very good.
She didn't get much to do.
Wow, Lynn.
Well, all right.
That's-
So for
That's
me,
a strong one.
I have the rating goes up because of my scene I got to do with James Doohan, which I told you about.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
When I
right.
did that convention, and they had the original script, one of the original scripts, the real one. I don't know how they got it, and I had to audition for Kirk, and I won. I beat like 10 people. And so not
runner-up.
not knowing that James Doohan was going to come out and finish the scene on the bridge at the end. So that was awesome for me. Like, you know, as a Star Trek, I'm sitting in the chair, and then I'm like, well, where's Scotty? And I'm reciting the lines and thinking some other kid was going to be Scotty, but it wasn't. Then James Doohan's voice came over the loudspeaker, and everybody was like, oh my God. And he came walking out, and he finished the scene right next to me. And I had to say, you know, where are the Tribbles? And he's like, I found a good home, or whatever he says. And he's like, and Kirk goes, where? And I said all the exact same stuff the way Shatner did. And he's like, I give them to the Klingon center. And I was like, you gave them to the Klingons. And I even smacked Doohan in the stomach like Shatner.
And they carried you off for assault.
Later, he said, he was doing an interview in front of the audience, and he pointed at me and he goes, there's one in every crowd. Because I was hamming it up. It was funny.
This is one of those a few episodes where you can see Jimmy Doohan's missing finger.
Yeah,
It's
that
when he
was
comes
the first
with
time I noticed it.
Yeah,
With-
well, really? Yeah,
No,
'cause
it was at the convention I noticed it.
Oh,
Because we were talking afterwards, and he put his hand out, and I was like, holy shit, his
Yeah.
missing finger.
I think it's his middle finger, isn't it?
Yeah.
He flipped off Ron after the performance, and Ron didn't get it because there was nothing there.
Well, it's funny because he talked about Shatner on stage, and he didn't have good things to say about him. Somebody asked him, is Shatner as much of an asshole as people say? And he just goes, well, let me put it this way. He's the star of the show, and he knows it. That's what he left it as.
Right.
He had no love lost for the guy. So just interesting than my experience all these years later meeting him.
Did you guys notice that this episode, sorry, we're going back around before we rated, did you guys notice there was like 3 like humorous endings to this episode where we were talking about like the scene with the apple, right? We're like, does anybody here remotely look like Satan? And they were doing more of that. They did it 3 times in this episode because they had the Cyrano de Bergerac. First of all, they had the Klingons, right? And they dismissed the Klingons. And then they had the Cyrano de Bergerac.
Not the
Cyrano de Bergerac, Cyrano Jones. When he come in there and he's like, that'll take years. 17.9 to be exact. And he's like, gentlemen, he goes, he'll do it, I'll do it, and he starts collecting them. And then they go back to the bridge, and we find out that they transported the Tribbles into the Klingons engineering room where there'll be no Tribble at all. So it was funny. You had like 3, and I thought if they'd taken the time to eliminate one of those joke endings, they could have spread out the Klingon thing a little bit more and made it a little bit more interesting than it actually was. But just throwing that out.
I thought it was a good ending as far as that, because it made you imagine what it was like on their ship.
Yeah.
You could have shown
I
it.
like that bit. I'm just saying that, but it was funny they had 3 comedic bits to end this episode instead of just 1. That's all.
Remember when Star Trek 6, when Undiscovered Country, where the Klingon homeworld blows up? It's because they beamed those Tribbles over to the ship, and they overpopulated the Klingon planet. It couldn't sustain itself, and then it ended up blowing up.
They could have used that.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
All right. Go ahead and give us your rating then, Ron. I'm done with my commentary on this episode. I'm trying to string it along. Give us a few more minutes, but
You just want to take some time to think about Caligula.
I did not see it. I didn't. We never did.
I liked it I thought it was a good break, better than what Mud tried to be. Mud, I don't know why. That second Mud
What did you guys give that episode, by the way? I wasn't here.
I think I gave it a pretty low rating. I think it was like a 5.5.
Yeah.
I think I gave it under 5 because I just don't like it.
I think
I don't
gave
think it's average. I don't.
4.5. I give it a
I
5.
think me and Ron both gave it 5s, and Graham gave it like a 4 or 5,
think
and
I
then
gave
you
it-
gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7. I like that episode. I mean, it's stupid,
Well,
but I
then
like
there's no way you can't give this one a higher rating then. So you probably
Oh,
give
yeah.
it a higher rating because
This
Tribbles
is much better. This
is
is
far superior to it.
far superior. It's much
As,
more
you know,
fun.
if they had just not tried the comedic one with Mud and then just left this as the break between all the seriousness, it would-
Hardcore Fenton Mud.
hardcore.
You've been drinking.
You thing.
Hey, our buddy Paul Taylor from Canada is here with $10. Thank you, Paul. This is a very most popular. This is a very popular episode. I don't think it's their best, but it's not bad.
It is
I
one of
like
the most
fight.
popular, though.
Oh, absolutely. It's always in the top 10. It
Mhm.
was you, wasn't it, Chekhov? No, sir. They compared the Enterprise to a garbage scow. Yeah, 2 great lines.
And
Two great
that
lines.
when you hit the Klingons. Aye, sir.
Yeah,
Not when they insulted me, but man,
Sadner's great in
Sadner,
that
aye.
scene. You know, he really underplays it. And oh, and Scotty,
Problem
you're
is-
confined to your quarters.
Yeah.
Here's the problem I have with it, is why I'm going to rate it. It takes off a few points for me. Is the Klingons. I think, when I first saw the Klingons and the Klingon ship, first of all, I thought the Klingon ship was badass the first time I ever saw it.
Mhm.
And I can't remember which episode it was. Enterprise Incident came out after this, right?
Yeah, that was a early episode.
What was the first one where we saw the Klingon ship?
Errand of Mercy is the first time the Klingons appeared.
Okay, yeah. And that was there, the Klingons had a threatening air about them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they seemed like a formidable force against the Federation, even though the ham-fisted sort of performance by the commander there. It would have been glorious.
Oh, stop. It was great. It was
I
just
love
really-
that.
Hey, don't relax. Calm down.
Don't get Jordan.
Look at him. He's hyperventilating. He's looking at me out of the corner of his eye.
I
I'm
am
not
one
saying
finger
it wasn't-
away.
I feel his performance a tad bit Shakespearean and ham-fisted. Not saying I didn't like it. I love the episode. That said, the
I swear.
Tribbles episode pulled the rug out from any kind of threatening nature of the Klingon Empire. It's supposed to be the Klingon Empire, not the Klingon fucking comedy troupe. Trelane and the guy in disguise who was afraid of the fucking Tribbles. I mean, come on, man. You're supposed to build up the Klingon Empire as this badass, which was what they did by the time they got to Next Generation. But even there, they kind of turned into buffoons that time. I like the idea. That's the one thing I will say that the Star Trek movies I thought got better. Like their version of the Klingons, they were these badass fucking, serious warrior fucking culture. Like
Mhm.
Mhm.
they weren't these goofy motherfuckers running around acting ridiculous. So that really killed that for me. I remember thinking that, like, well, these are supposed to be Klingons, man.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the Romulans seemed more badass to me, where the Klingons should have been. So, I mean, so that brought it down at least 3 points for me. So that, I will say, I would give it a 6.57, somewhere in there, because
okay.
it ruined the Klingons for me.
Yep.
I'm going to go with the same problem that I didn't have with I Mud, which was they didn't ruin the Klingons in I Mud, but they did in this episode, which really I found silly and disappointing, even though it was funny. But I still give it more than I Mud. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Anna?
10.
I knew it. I knew it.
Like you
I-
couldn't figure that one out with her with her little stuffed animals.
Yeah.
I love this episode. And I think it's, you might not be perfect for you guys, but
It's
if you're a little
perfect
kid
for
watching
you.
this episode, it's fun. It's cute. Everyone gets their own little time. Kirk is still the hero, but everyone else, just does noble stuff too. It's
Right.
funny and clever, and you guys are just haters. Except for
I
you,
gave it a
Aaron.
7.5.
Hey, we hate
I
it.
said except for you, Aaron.
Okay.
I told you, I
So
gave it my
is
reason.
this your favorite episode of the entire series?
No,
Because this is the first 10, I believe.
it is.
So
So
there's another 10 coming up.
Yes.
Oh.
I got a couple tens. I did
This,
Doomsday Machine.
this season or the next season?
This season.
And what does it have to do with?
Sarek.
Ah, okay.
Has to do with what?
Sarah.
Sarek.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Sarah.
I know her favorite episode.
I've
We
already
all-
told you guys my
we all
favorite
have-
Journey
episode.
to Babel.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great one.
I love that episode.
Somebody
Not
else,
my favorite, though.
somebody else asked if this influenced Gremlins. That's what I mentioned earlier. Is the Tribbles similar sort of their ability to reproduce and everything, and the quadrotriticale, and then the water.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Am I the only one who doesn't know about this wheat?
Wheat.
I'm gonna give this a 7.
All right, me and Graham on the same page.
Yeah.
Oh, you said 6.5, didn't you? Or did you go 6?
No, he said 6.5.
7. Listen,
Okay. All right.
how dare you?
Yeah, I think it's a 7. It's definitely well above average. It's a lot of fun. Some of the humor is a little too much, I think. And again, I took points off of even the enhanced version, as I had mentioned to you guys about how crappy the digitized space station looked. It wasn't an upgrade from the crappy model that they used.
I know. It's like they polished up the model and said, "Here you go." They're
Yeah.
the same thing. What's her face? The Green Orion slave girl in the chat. She
Lynn.
said that the first time you see the ships on the Klingon ships is the Enterprise incident in season 3. So how about that?
It is?
Well, we saw it in this.
Yeah, but this wasn't it digit? That was
Oh,
the
so
new-
maybe in the original it wasn't in there?
Yeah, there was no shots outside the space station other than the first shot where they go
Okay,
in.
this is the first time we saw the Klingon ships. Doesn't seem right to me. I seem to remember.
Well, I don't know.
No,
They
no,
didn't
not
show
this one. She's saying it's the Enterprise incident, which is
That's what I asked.
3rd season, right?
Yeah, the Enterprise instance is the 3rd season. That's
Third
where
season.
Kirk gets the
No,
plastic
because the
surgery.
Romulans end up using the Klingon design.
Yes.
And
Right.
that's before the 3rd season, I thought.
All right, now I'm confused.
Well, wait a second. Because the Enterprise incident is about Romulans that are using
Romulans using Klingon.
yeah, that are using the Klingon design. So we had to have seen the Klingon design before that.
That's what
Where did we? What episode was it then? We obviously can't trust Lynn Green.
You're
Lynn.
actually very reliable with her info. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm messed up. I don't know.
Could
When
because this is only the, wait, it's got to be Day of the Dove.
That's season 3 though too.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Errand of Mercy was what?
Season
That
1.
was season 1, but did we see the ships
That
in that?
would have been
though?
the first one.
Did we
I don't
see
know if we
ships
saw
in
the
that?
ships in that.
Let me pull it up. Let's pull it up and see if we can spot.
And gosh darn it, when are we going to see the Gorn ship? We've never seen the Gorn ship either.
That was just a spinning little light.
No, that wasn't the Gorn ship. That was the.
Yeah, they showed that as a little light. I thought, didn't they?
Mhm.
Whatever.
You're thinking of the Corbomite maneuver. No. What was the? Yeah, the spinning thing, but they destroyed that buoy. That was in the Corbomite maneuver.
Yeah. Now, according to this, Lynn is right that it is the Enterprise incident.
But they were
Well.
using Klingon ships, and they weren't using the Romulan ships in that episode, right? Or am I mistaken?
The D7 class battle cruiser. You can.
Can you see this now?
Anna, what do you think about all this? She's like, you guys are idiots. That's what I think.
I don't even know what we're talking about at this point.
We're
You
trying to
guys-
figure out when we saw
Guys,
the
can you guys see this screen?
no.
No. Graham has to share it for us to see it.
Yeah.
I thought I could share.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
You're
have
saying
to,
we're
I
seeing
have
it
to
now.
bring it up. It's up now.
Oh, okay.
We've both guessed right. Negotiations with the Klingon Empire on the verge of breaking down. Starfleet Command anticipates a surprise attack.
What's the audio?
We are to
Yeah.
proceed to
All right,
Organia
maybe I won't get dinged.
and take whatever steps are necessary to prevent the
Oops, sorry.
Strategically sound.
Wait, turn off the
Organia is
sound,
the
Ron.
only Class M planet in the
I'm trying to.
I'm trying to
'Cause we-
find it. Like it doesn't show. So basically, they beam down and the Klingons are there. We don't see the ship.
I
But
don't
isn't
think
there
so.
a part where Sulu says that they're in orbit and he says, "Get out of here"? You know.
Yeah,
contact
they don't think they
me."
ever showed the ship.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think they ever show the
They
ship.
don't, because even Scotty has to like leave orbit, right? For the
The Sulu, no, that was
No,
in. You're right.
yeah, it's Scotty, and then they
That's
figure
Scotty.
out that it's a fake, and then they come
They
back.
didn't have a cloaking device or anything. So, see here they get hit. There it is. There's the ship getting blasted.
But we don't see the. Oh,
And
there it is.
is. There it
Okay.
is. So it was this episode.
Okay, so it's Errand of Mercy. Then we do get
Wait,
to see.
let me see it. Show it again.
Hold on. There it is. See it?
Oh yeah. Is this the remastered
It
version?
looks like a remastered version because the Enterprise looks different.
Yeah, those
Maybe.
photon torpedoes are definitely remastered.
Who's that guy?
He was remastered.
It's his name, remastered.
Reed Masters.
Hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, so this was the episode.
Lynn says the remake version, which is what these are, has the Klingon ships.
But the original does or doesn't?
Does
what we
not.
So we saw the Romulan ship in
Balance of Terror.
Balance of Terror, and then we never saw the Klingon ships.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. The D7 class model was originally produced for Elan of Troyes. However, as the episodes were not aired in their production order, the vessel first appeared in the Enterprise incident.
That's third season.
Huh.
They're all third season. But again, we're watching these things in the order of production. So the first time that I guess the public, the first time they saw it was the Enterprise incident, which was probably confusing to them because they talk about this Klingon battle cruiser, but it's Romulans that have stolen the plans for it and are using it. Whereas if they had shown it in the order they were filmed, Elan of Troyes would have introduced it.
I wonder why they, on that note, I wonder why they decided to go with the Klingon ship for the Romulans instead of
Because the Romulan ship was broken.
Yeah.
Oh,
Somebody
and
dropped it.
the model was broken.
Yeah, the model was broken.
Somebody dropped it.
So they just came up with a storyline that they
Yep.
used Klingon technology. They couldn't go back together. Must have been broken pretty bad.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
Maybe I love the Warbird. You know, the big.
I know it's a great.
oh
ship.
yeah, that's a great design.
I love that decal underneath. I had that model too. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So, well, the point for me still stands that, because we have seen the Klingons before and they seem much more warrior-like instead of the wimpy Trelane and
Right.
So,
Oh,
Yeah, but they know that if they go to war, those guys will come after them again or make them stop, and everyone frees in the universe. Remember?
the Organians.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
gaining. Yeah, they did
And how
mention
long-
it, right? The Organian peace treaty.
Yep. But imagine that kind of power. I mean, there seems like there's a lot of those type of characters that float around in the Star Trek universe. You've got the Metrons that were able to teleport the Enterprise thousands of light years away. I mean, that kind of power. You've got the Organians who can appear in front of two homeworlds at the same time and tell you to stop your shit or we're gonna put a stop to your war.
Even had Trelane, his
Trelane,
His parents.
he was just a baby, so I mean, his
Well, so what
parents.
about Charlie X? What about that thing that was
that too. Yep. Well, the thing I remember reading a list of who was the most powerful alien entity out of all those. And they said that the Organians were. They said
I think so.
they were the most evolved because they were the only ones that didn't treat the humans like they were animals in a cage.
Right.
He said they were just they had evolved beyond the need for physical bodies like these other ones, but they were repulsed by the idea of violence, and they didn't, like with the Metrons, they put them on a planet to fight each other almost for their own entertainment in a way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the conclusion. Like, hey, Guy Dorian. Hey, what's up, dude? Didn't even notice him there.
Oh, hey, Guy.
Hey, Guy.
Hey, Guy.
Not like Mark Waid. Hey, Guy.
All right.
Good. That's good. All right. Well, there you go.
There you go. And that's
Successful episode.
Tribbles.
So next up is bread and circuses.
Oh, I love bread and circuses.
I love bread and
a
circuses.
lot.
And circuses.
I do. Not as much as I love bread, though. Circuses.
I hear you. Fresh
I
bread.
did ride an elephant once at a circus, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah, I like that episode because I love ancient Rome and mythology and all that. And I just thought it was really
Well,
cool.
it's such a great way to kind of like they modernize it, and yet it still sort of has the tendencies of ancient Rome. I really liked how they did that.
It's
It was
sort
like
of an FU to
professional wrestling.
NBC too,
And they could leave all the lights and the sound stage on there and not have to rip lighting because it was a broadcast and stuff.
Yeah. And the
It's
commercial.
really kind of the first time where they started going down that road of, using Earth events to planets, like how they did with the Omega Glory and and the other one.
We will talk about this next week.
That's right. We're doing next week. Yeah, who needs to do next week's episode?
Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We ran out of time this week. Let's not run out of time next week.
Yeah,
we didn't run. What did I do?
No, that's what I'm saying, that we were running short on time.
Anyway, you guys are busting stones saying it's too early.
That was Aaron.
Now it's running late thanks to you, Ron, and your story.
Wow, just the way you pronounce
Aaron, don't become like the Democrats and not take responsibility.
Oh my God,
that was a low blow.
Wow, you really know how to hurt Aaron.
Oh, that hurts. That's deep right there, man.
All right, gang. So I guess we'll see. Oh, next week's my birthday, so we're gonna have a birthday show.
Happy birthday!
I don't have to show
up cake.
Yeah, I'll be 25. Yeah, that's it.
That's the ticket.
Congratulations!
I'm gonna have my wife with me, Morgan Fairchild. Yeah.
That's right. You'll be able to hang out with Anna. You're same age, 25.
What year were you born?
62. I'll be 63 next Wednesday.
Very nice.
So we have bread and circuses for the party.
Well, we have to at least have a piece of cake for each of us.
How about a bourbon?
Or a bourbon.
We can do that.
I don't have any bourbon.
I'm on.
Well, then you eat cake.
I will. And I'll enjoy it. Thank you.
I'm still fighting this. This nerve that was damaged in here, so I'm not supposed to have liquor.
Oh, is that right?
Quit getting in fights.
They severed a nerve in there when they did the operation, and then my whole face is numb on the side, and my teeth and everything, and it's constant throbbing pain, and it's unless I take tons of Tylenol, it's killing.
Was that a mistake, or did you know that was part of the process?
No, it was a mistake because when the operation first happened, I was like, "What is this numbness I'm feeling?" And he said, "Oh, did you put in like a Novocaine kind of thing?" I said, "Oh yeah, that'll wear off." And I think he knew and didn't say.
Oh boy.
So I came in a week and a half later for his follow-up, and then my face was still throbbing, my teeth, and it's still like that. my teeth are all numb, and
Damn.
I said something to him about it. And he's like, well, there is a nerve in there, and we had to cut around that, and it might have been stretched a little, but it'll go away. I'm like, dude, I like the way you skirted it at first, but it's really bad. It's not. I think they accidentally cut it a little bit or something, because my whole face is numb, and inside my skull. If I go to bed, I wake up in the middle of the night. It's like bam, bam, bam with pain, and it's like really debilitating.
Oh wow, dude. Sorry.
I don't know how long it's going to be before it's healed, because it hasn't gotten any better. And it's how long ago to have the operation? It's been a month now.
Wow.
So I'll have to live with it. I may end up having my life if that's the case, but it's brutal.
Oh, that's terrible.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it sucks. What are you going to do though?
Sue him.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
Yeah, I thought of that, but it's better than having a tumor in there.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
There's always that.
You look on the bright side, right?
But either way, we're going to celebrate your birthday.
All right.
Hey, Anna, how's the baby?
She's good. She discovered Winnie the Pooh, so I've been watching Winnie the Pooh all.
You mean the horror movie version that just came
out? No. No, she's good. She's getting big. She's a good baby.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
Does she know about Bluey yet?
I watched some of Bluey. She slept through it. We were at the in-laws this past weekend, and it was on. I thought that it was actually pleasant compared to other kid TV shows.
Yeah.
Like
Junie, my grandbaby, loves it. The Bluey comes on. She's like,
Bluey. No, it was cute, and I like their voices.
Are you still are you still feeding off your chest?
Yes, I'm still breastfeeding.
It's called breastfeeding, Ron.
Yeah, right.
It just popped into my head.
Make it sound like she's serving bologna sandwiches off.
Feeding off your chest.
Well, I could have said it. She's still milking your tits.
Other way.
So sweet.
She's only 3 months old, so she kind of needs
well, that's good.
Stuff.
She'll be better off because that formula can fuck kids up.
Well, we have to supplement with formula since she's still so little, because she's still wearing newborn clothes at 3 months old. But I put her in the 0 to 3 months. She's big on her.
Well,
she looked like she'd been putting on
nutrients.
weight.
It's part of your body, and that they're getting the same nutrients they were getting inside. And she's in the womb, and there's research on that if they don't have that, it can affect brain development and everything else. So,
well, she's a smart little baby.
I'm sure.
She's so aware. She's like looking.
That's live.
She's gonna put her hand up to your head and then read your mind.
My baby's actually a Vulcan.
Like a Vulcan.
Are we still live? I thought we were having a conversation backstage. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're still live.
No, we're still live.
What she's not telling us is that Peaches wears that thing that Pete Buttigieg wore.
Oh God!
How fucked up!
Ruin a nice moment.
Come on. Oh, this was a nice moment.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even know what this is. So
see, she's confused.
We'll tell you after we sign off.
Yeah. Do I want to know?
Not really. No. All right, we're gonna sign off, guys. Have a great night. We will see you next week.
2 cheese.